Hello, church. I am glad I have this opportunity to bring to you a quick encouragement video. I was thinking about what I was going to share with you, and I just thought, there's times in life that we become distracted from that which we've set out to do. And this applies to when we follow Jesus. There's times when I'm driving in the car. I'm driving along and looking around at things because there's so many things to see. And sometimes if Michelle is with me, I'll say, "Hey, Michelle, did you see that?" And she'll look over at me. She goes, "No, because I was watching the road." You see, when I'm driving, there's just so many things to see, so many things to say, "Hey, look at me." In life is like that sometimes. We set out to do something, but there's things that are calling for our attention. There's things that are sidetracking us from what we want to set out to do. And I think most of you know what I'm talking about. And it's not just that we become sidetracked, we become enthralled with something, or we become preoccupied by something, and we stray off course from what we really intend to do. Often, to stay focused takes energy and takes effort. Paul in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14 says this in regards to staying focused on Jesus, in regards to following him well, in regards to being all that Christ intends us to be. Paul says this. He says, "One thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on towards the goal of the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." When we think of following Jesus well, when we're his disciples, Paul says there's some things we need to remember. He says, "One thing I do." And to me, this speaks of intentionality. Setting out to follow Jesus well. He says, "I strain towards what lies ahead." And to me, this speaks of energy and effort, and to stay focused. Sometimes that's the case. And then he says this. He says, "I press on towards the goal." He has in his mind what he wants to accomplish. He wants to follow Jesus well. We live in a day and an age in which there are so many things that call for our attention. There's so many things that can distract us from following Jesus well. And so we need to continually come back and say, how can I follow Jesus well? How can I do things in my life that will honor and bring glory to him? We can tell if we are distracted by what we talk about. We can tell if we're distracted by our attitudes. We can tell if we're distracted if there's things that consume our hearts, and we are more consumed by those things than we are about following Jesus. I think sometimes we're distracted by things of trying to make life easy, and our whole goal is how can life be easier? Or we look for things that will entertain us. Sometimes people are distracted by difficulties and pain that comes in life. It could be physical. Maybe there's things in your body that just aren't functioning like they should be. And the pain for you has been great. And it becomes overbearing, and you lose sight of the bigness of God. Maybe it's financial. Maybe you're worried about the future, or how you're going to pay bills, or where you're going to get money to do certain things that you want to accomplish. Maybe what distracts you are the world events, and this is something that we know all too much about in the last year and a half. There are so many things going on in our world. There's so many things we hear about in the news, read on the internet, things that can consume us and can overcome our thoughts. Maybe there's emotional things. Maybe there's grief. Or maybe there's mental things like loneliness, and you really struggle with that, and that becomes an overarching distraction for you. Maybe there's fears that you might have in life. How do you know if you're distracted? I think you know. But I think you can ask yourself some questions like, what do I spend the most of my time thinking about? What do I spend the most of my time talking about? Am I able to sleep comfortably knowing that God is in control? Or are there things that cause me to worry and to fear and to fret? What do my actions say are things that control me? Jesus calls us. He says, come and follow me. And when he calls us to come and follow, he calls us to fix our eyes on him. Because the reality is, some of the things that call for our attention are momentary things. I came across a quote recently that said this. It says, the weather changes, governments change, people change, circumstances change, your body changes, but have hope. Jesus never changes. You see, when we become sidetracked by things, what happens is the things that sidetrack us become big, and God becomes small. And Jesus says, look to me. Jesus calls us, says, come, follow me. Don't become sidetracked. And so I want to encourage you to fix your eyes on Jesus. Like the song says, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Not that the things of earth are small, but our God is in control. God is big. And he says, follow me. And so today I want to encourage you to know that Jesus' promises are true. Jesus is the anchor. Jesus is the one who does not change. Know that in your heart. Talk about him. Spread that news to other people, because we live in a hurting world that needs to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. Are you distracted today? Ask God to give you the ability to focus strongly on him. As you see his greatness, may you be encouraged. Have a great week.